Now, a bit on the media I've got to talk about here tonight. Apparently the big breaking massive news covered tonight on Channel 9 was an absolute horror show, apparently, from Tasmania.
The Prime Minister is in the fight of his political life, trying to win over marginal seats. But today an awkward encounter, one he could do without. Scott Morrison crash-tackling a young boy as a rough election campaign charges into the final stretch.
Politics can be a bruising sport.
OK, so game over. This is the handshake of 2022. Or I could just show you the full footage, including the bit they didn't show you on the news, that everything was OK. Did he crash tackle or did he bump into and then protect the kid, who, by the way, gave him a high five of his own on the way off the field? Are you surprised? Now, today was a home game for Anthony Albanese because apparently the path of the Prime Ministership is you don't have to campaign for it. He didn't appear for 24 hours and then turned up at the National Press Club, where, of course, they licked his boots. But let's compare how things work. Remember, this was him yesterday when he wasn't able to have a lectern in front of him to guard him from those evil journalists asking questions.
I'll be taking more of your questions.
Thanks very much. Why aren't you taking all the questions like you agreed to? Housing supply has come up a couple of times here during the press conference. Now,
so long, Jace. Jace,
this is short. This is short.
This pay for the scheme, is that correct? And if not, and if
Chris Bowen.
Absolutely, and our policy,
the largest of which is for childcare. Thanks very much, and now Mark's going to.
Isn't there a problem with transparency? We're following you for answers, Mr Albanese, and you're now just not giving them. You have to answer eventually.
Sorry, did I include other things there? How unreasonable of me to actually get you to see what the campaign has been. Amazingly, at the National Press Club today, Albo told a big fat lie, which was that he apparently had already answered all of the questions of the journalists. And of course, it was those mean reporters who were the ones who created a moment of him storming off. Well, you saw what actually happened, but have a listen to him trying to pass this garbage off today in Canberra.
And will you apologise to people who've had, the hundreds of people who've had funding arbitrarily cut under the scheme?
Well, thanks for the question.
Always happy to ask you questions, Prime Minister.
Yep.
Had multiple reviews. You've got the Jenkins report on your desk. There's been a staff training video and a hotline. But what actually makes Parliament and political officers more safe for women now than they were 12 months ago?
you're an unpopular leader.
Oh, sorry, that was just the very tough questioning that, of course, the Prime Minister got, as opposed to the softballs he got today, where Albo was allowed to get away with this lie, big, stinking and in neon.
They wait. I got 18 questions yesterday, but they'll wait to chase.
Well,
as Lefty Laura Tingle says, oh, fair enough. No, you. Jonathan Lee, who was on the campaign trail, was at the press conference yesterday and was one of those that was chasing him out the door, tweeted tonight. I challenge Albo to prove he got 18 questions yesterday at the press conference. The truth is he got about 9. He refused to answer repeated questions about his deficit projections. He was rightly pursued for answers that he's refused to give for days. But the collective National Press Club, the gallery that is hoping that they are in the final days of an evil government, didn't bother to follow up on any of that, did they? You didn't see that as the lead story all afternoon, and you didn't hear any about that tonight on the 6 p.m. news. Geez, I wonder why. We know what the media wants, but I also know that you're in charge. Your vote, your preferences decide this, not media narratives. As for the actual budget situation, we know it's going to be worse when it comes to the Labor Party. I've told you all the way through the campaign, where we've added up all of their different announcements, and it is going to be bigger deficits, which lead to higher debt. Also, their policies when it comes to making all employers have to pay more for their workers. Well, of course, that will lead to inflation, which pushes up interest rates. You know, no biggie here, because apparently Albo claims he's going to save the budget money.
These two decisions alone will repair the budget by $750 million. Jim and Katie will have more to say about this tomorrow.
Wow, $750 million. Now, I know that if you write it out in zeros, it's a big number, and if you say $750 million, it seems like one. But you know what's an even bigger number? The one that Jim Chalmers is not so subtle in hiding about how big your deficits will be.
And now for the coming year, I think it's $715 billion or so. And so that gives you a sense of the change in debt levels under this government.
You know, nothing to see here. It's just the future of the country.